everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and this is the Astral Library. And your girl is back. Oh my god, it's been a minute and I'm sure you can still hear it in my voice. I am still recovering from being sick. I somehow got COVID and it just like completely wiped me out and my throat was swollen. I had a high fever. It was not a fun time, right? And my tonsil's still a little swollen, which is why I sound like this, but I'm feeling so much better. I am happy not to be stuck in my bed anymore, dying from a fever and boredom and not being able to read anything because I can't focus on anything. But I lost so much time in August. I barely got any reading done the month whatsoever. And of course, things aren't slowing down. We're rolling right into the next month, which is September, which is Magical Readathon month, which is my favorite readathon of the year. I participate in it every time and this is no exception. Even though my voice sounds like this, even though I'm still a little bit tired, we're diving straight into the Magical Readathon. And this is my TBR video, so what you can be expecting from me this month, what I'm going to be reading, and what you can be expecting in the vlogs I'm going to do for Magical Readathon. I'm going to do it a bit different this go around. I'm going to be doing a vlog every other week rather than every single week, just so I can kind of build up content a little bit more and I just ease myself back into content making, because again, I'm still not 100% back to what I was, but still, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be reading and I'm happy to be sharing my TBR with you guys. So what the heck am I reading? So if you don't know the Magical Readathon, it is hosted by G over at TheBookRoast, who does so much work for this readathon in that she has created classes for us to take, callings for us to follow, and come up with a whole bunch of art and amazing prompts. I'm going to leave a video linked to G's video explaining what the Magical Readathon is, both on screen and in the description down below. Go check them out. She does a great job of explaining things. That's the video that's going to tell you how to participate in this, and I hope you are, because this is such a fun readathon to do. But my character Kaleidoscope is on the Storyweaver track, and so I am slowly going through that career, which means I have 3 classes I need to pass. They are Inscription, Lore, and Psionics and Divination. And within each of those classes, I have to get a certain grade, and each of those grades come with a reading prompt. So I have a stack of books off camera here of what I need to read for my classes, as well as a couple extra books I just picked up from the library that I want to read before I have to return them. So we're gonna go ahead and go through those prompts. We're gonna go through the TBR and I hope you stick around. Okay, but kicking off, before we get to the Magical Readathon TBR, I figured let's go ahead and start with the 2 books I have for the library, which they, funny enough, came in at the same time. I'm so excited. And they are books 3 and 4 of the Murderbot Diaries. So I have Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy. I picked these both up from my local libraries and I am very excited to get to read them because I am loving the series and they're so super duper short, so I can easily read them in a day. They're just really good palate cleansers because they're really fun, they're really funny, they're pretty action based, and they have an interesting enough character and world to like keep you interested, and I think it's developed really well for how short these books are. I started reading this series earlier this year and I absolutely fell in love with Murderbot, and so every book I'm excited to see more and more about them, and these are no exception, especially because I think in Rogue Protocol we're going back to interact with some of the characters from book 1 and I'm here for it. I'm ready for Murderbot to have friends. So those are the first 2 books of my TBR for September, and then next I have the Magical Readathon. So we're gonna go ahead and go in order of the classes I need to take and the prompts. So the first class I have is Inscription, and for this class I only need to get an O, which is the first level of this class. And for O, the class is Art of Decipher, and the prompt is the title has to have all the letters of your first name. And oh my god, when I tell you I had the hardest time trying to find this book, simply because my name has a Y in it. Do you know how hard it is to find a book with a Y in it? It took me forever to find this book. I could not find anything. I was searching my shelves. Luckily, I found one thing that fit. And that is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. So this book I picked up at a used bookstore, I think end of last year. And I've heard a lot of really great things about Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and I've been wanting to read it forever. So when I found this copy at the used bookstore in really great condition, and I think it's even signed, which is cool. And when I saw that it had all the letters, this Y and absolutely saved me, because nothing else, literally nothing else had a Y in it. And I was like, I was unsure what I was going to do, if I was gonna have to spend some points to get a new prompt, but came in clutch. What I understand about this book, it's a sci-fi book where we have a girl who has a YouTube channel or like some sort of like content creation channel. She ends up filming and coming across these like monoliths that just randomly appeared in the world, and she ends up going viral after filming and talking about them, and her whole life changes. That's pretty much all I understand, all I've ever heard about this book. I've done my best to really kind of stay away from like what exactly is going on in this book because I wanted to experience it for myself, and because I've just heard a lot of great things about it, and I really like John Green's writing, and I've never read anything by Hank Green yet, so I'm excited to see if I also really enjoy his writing. So this is the very first book I'm going to be reading for my classes. The next class I'm taking is Psionics and Divination, in which I have to pass 2 levels for this one. So I have to get an O and a Q. The prompt for O is rewind time, and the prompt for that one is your favorite author's debut book. So I had a hard time with this one, not because I like don't have favorite authors, I do, but a lot of the authors I tend to find early on and I just like read their backlog already. So I don't have like a ton of authors that I would first call my favorite, and second that I would have the books from like their backlog. So for this one I decided to go for an author that I really enjoyed this year, and that I think they're gonna be a new favorite. And I just so happen to have this book on my 24 for 2024 challenge, and that is of course City of Brass by Shannon Chakraborty. For the last Magical Readathon, I listened to The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, which I absolutely loved. And so I had City of Brass, and I've been planning to read City of Brass for a while, and I was unsure if this was actually her debut novel until I actually went back and looked and found out that this was her debut novel. So it totally fits, and I'm excited because I've been wanting to read this forever. I have the entire series, so I can just dive straight into it all if I really wanted to. And yeah, so what I know of this one is that we are following a girl who is like a con artist, and she ends up summoning a djinn to help her out, and something goes wrong and they're both on the run, I think from like the Empire or whatever, and it's about their kind of like adventures of like getting involved in political intrigue and trying to avoid being captured and stuff like that. I know there's magic. I know there's this like brilliantly wide world. I hear the characters are really fun and interesting, and I've not heard a goddamn bad thing about this book. This is another one I've been kind of avoiding like knowing the specifics about, and I know that every book is good. Like I've never heard a bad thing about this series, and so I'm really interested in seeing like what has captivated so many people. And Shannon Chakraborty's writing is just really, really interesting and really detailed. Like I loved how The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi was written. I loved Amina as a character and as a narrator. I felt like the writing really drew me in and held my attention via audiobook, which is not my favorite genre. So I'm really excited to like dive into her actual writing and to like read a physical book of hers. The next topic I have to do for that class is significance recurrence, which the prompt for that is same letter appears in the title 4 or more times. This one I also had a surprisingly hard time trying to find, just because there's like a lot of books that have like 3 letters but not 4. And I did find another one on my 24 for 2024 challenge, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, who is another author I am in love with, and I love her writing, and I can't wait to read another one of her series. And this is like the series a lot of people like started off with for V.E. Schwab. I don't know if this is her debut or not, but I know this is what like a beloved series for her. What I understand of this one is that we are dealing with a character who can go through multiple versions of London. There's like a red London, a black London, I think like a white London, and our main character is someone who smuggles things between the different versions of London. And one day I'm not sure if he gets caught or he gets conscripted into like smuggling something, and it just leads to this like whole heist. Of course, as with heist stories go, something goes wrong or he's getting himself into deeper shit than he originally thought. But I hear a lot of good things about this. I do hear that sometimes this book can be divisive for a lot of people in that they don't quite love the development of the magic system, or they don't quite like the main character. But I really, really like V.E. Schwab's characterizations, and I love the way she writes. I'm very curious to see what she does with a more traditional fantasy setting, because my favorite book from hers is the Villain series. So I'm curious to see how her writing will translate to a more traditional fantasy, because that one is a more superhero-esque, which depending on how you view superheroes can be be like more sci-fi, it could be more fantasy. It's kind of a weird element. I hear good things, but every now and then I hear like bad things. So it can be a very divisive book, but I'm curious to see where I land. And I think I'm gonna love it. I only own the first 2 books. So if I love this book, I can immediately jump into the next one, which is always great. But it also means if I hate it, I have the next book. So we'll see what we'll do with that. But I've been wanting to read this for a while to give more V.E. Schwab a chance and to kind of dive more into her writing and her repertoire. So this is a chance to do it. The last class I have for the Magical Readathon is Lore, which is finally back after last semester, which took a kind of a break as we were doing these side quests. So this time I just get to go through the classes, even though it's my most intensive classes because there's 3 rounds for this class. So the first one is Elytrian history, which is actually really apt for this because my character is an Elytrian, which is kind of like a vampire-esque race. And the prompt for this one is a vampire book. And of course, I had to choose a book that I'm doing for another video actually, and that is Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So a little sneak preview. I'm doing a video series where I'm trying books from a new author. And Silvia Moreno Garcia is an author. I have multiple of their books, but I haven't read any of their works yet. I've only ever read a short story by her, and I really enjoyed it. And so I wanted to give her actual novels a chance. So Certain Dark Things is her vampire story. So I don't actually know what this one's about other than it's vampires. So we're gonna actually go ahead and read the back of this book together here. Welcome to Mexico City, an oasis in a sea of vampires. Domingo, a lonely garage collecting street kid, is just trying to survive its heavily policed streets when a jaded vampire on the run swoops into his life. Adel, the descendant of Aztec blood drinkers, is smart, beautiful, and dangerous. Domingo is mesmerized. Adel needs to quickly escape the city far from rival narco-vampire clan relentlessly pursuing her. Her plan doesn't include Domingo, but Adel finds herself warming up to the scrappy young man and his undeniable charm. As the trail of corpses stretches behind them, local cops and crime bosses start closing in. Vampires, humans, cops, and criminals collide in the dark streets of Mexico City. Adel and Domingo stand a chance of making it out alive, or will the city devour them all? Ooh, so not only do we get vampires, but we kind of get a little of like mob cartel stuff and maybe a little bit of romance in this. That sounds kind of fun. And just like the cover's really cool and pretty. I love the colors. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. This will be my first foray into her writing. Though I have to say, like the actual text in this book is really tiny, and that's a little scary. Even though this book is not long in a sense, it's only 240 pages, which is a super easy and quick read, but those are some tiny text, so we'll have to see how that goes. And like, it's tiny with my glasses on, so this might be an experience reading it. That's all I have to say. The next round in this class is regional interpretations, and this is a book that has been translated or a translated book. I hemmed and hawed about this one for a while because I don't have a lot of translated books that I haven't read, and the few that I do, I was like wary of like what to choose, because like I have a thriller mystery that I've been wanting to read, but when I tell you that book is so long, it's like 800 pages for a thriller mystery, and like I was not about to commit to that in the month after I just got over being sick. It was not gonna happen. That was gonna doom me to fail. So I went back to my tried and true methods of Danmei, and the one I actually picked up is Murao Zushi, or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Volume 3, which is the next book in the series that I've been reading. This is a Chinese Danmei novel, which is a BL romance story essentially. This one in particular is written by MXTX, who is very well known in the Danmei community and has several bestsellers within the genre. This is her second work. This is the story that actually got me into Danmei. I first encountered the story and fell in love with it actually in the Chinese drama version of it, The Untamed. When these got translated and traditionally published here in the US, I actually went back and I've started rereading this. She's also the author of my favorite series, Heaven Official's Blessing, which you've heard me talk about before. I love it. I cannot say enough great things about that series, but this is the one that kind of started it all for me, and I've been slowly reading through like the actual source material. So this series follows our main character, Wei Wuxian, who is essentially a necromancer for all intents and purposes. He was infamous back in his day. He was super powerful, and it caused a lot of people to fear him, and it inevitably led to his death. Until the translation varies on this. It goes from about like 13 to 20 years later. He is mysteriously revived in this other person's body, in which he is kind of forced to take revenge for the body's original owner and trying to solve the mystery of like what is going on, of why has he been brought back, and what kind of dark forces are going on that kind of mimic the issues and mysteries going on that was in his past life. So this is the third volume in the series, which is, I guess, the halfway point because there's only 5 volumes in this series. I'm not gonna lie, I was hesitant to pick this one up because book 2 just like followed an arc I was like not interested in. Like even when I was watching the TV show, I just like had very little interest in it. It was very slow moving. There was just a lot of like jumping back in the past and dealing with other characters that wasn't really interesting. So it kind of put me off of continuing the series for a while, even though I know what happens and I know it gets really interesting. So I'm curious to see what's actually in this volume because it's been a while since I've seen the show now, so I don't quite remember everything, but I do think it got more interesting after that last arc. These volumes also have really pretty art embedded in them. Let's see if I can find one without like a spoiler. So that's always really nice to see, just kind of like a little extra treat to bring this story to life in a new way. But yeah, it's translated. It's originally written in Chinese. Now I have it in English, and now I can finally continue on with the journey and hopefully get closer to finishing out another series because you know your girl has too many series started. Okay, and the very last round of this class is Tale of a Desert Creeper, which the prompt for this one is a book that is a retelling. For this one, I actually am going to be spending some guild points, which G kind of rearranged, and one of those I'm using a scroll of continuing, which essentially means I'm bringing a book that I started last month and I'm going to continue on for this month and count it towards my classes. And this one is actually the book club pick for the Pages in Stardust, which is the book club I host here on this YouTube channel. And that, of course, is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. So if you didn't see my community post, I got sick, and because it was the last couple weeks of August, I got 0 reading done. I just had no attention span, which means I was unable to finish this book for our book club pick, and I decided to pose you guys a question of if we should roll this book into next month or if we should add on another book and talk about both books at the end of this month, September. And a lot of you guys wanted some extra time to finish this book, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. So the book club pick for September is also The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. So if you haven't had a chance to pick this one up and you want to join for the live show that's going to be happening at the end of the month, this is your time. There's plenty of time to catch up and read it along with us. So this is the last book I have. This story, I have started this one, so you can see I've gotten a chunk of the way in, not too far. I am 135 pages in, so just enough to kind of get the story started. But in this book, we are following our main character, Luli, who is a kind of like magic merchant. She calls herself the Midnight Merchant, and she deals specifically in magical artifacts, in which she is hired by folks to go find magical artifacts or whatever ones she finds on her adventures. She comes back and she sells them. This, of course, captures the eye of the Sultan, who is looking for a magical artifact that is a lamp with a djinn trapped inside it that is said to grant him the power to destroy all other supernatural creatures. Essentially, is blackmailing Luli to go find that artifact for him, or he's going to kill her. And Luli, out of self-preservation, of course, is going to go and find this artifact that is lost somewhere in the depths of the desert. Unbeknownst to the Sultan, however, is of course Luli's bodyguard, who is in fact a djinn himself. Of course, Luli herself also has a dark and mysterious past that not only led her to be connected with this djinn, but to have some sort of deep dark secret that she is on the run for. Not only is Luli blackmailed into going to find this artifact, but she is also accompanied by one of the princes of the kingdom who is essentially there to keep an eye on Luli. But Prince himself also has his own motives for wanting to go out into the world and to join on this adventure. So I've not gotten very far in. Like I said, I'm only really just at the start of where this book is beginning to take off in terms of its plot. So we we just have like Luli getting like the mission and being blackmailed. But from the first 100 pages alone, I've fallen in love with this book. I love the writing. I love the characters. I think they're so fun and witty. I think the world's really super interesting right now. I love the kind of like bits and pieces we get of the kind of lore between chapters. And I think every character is really vibrant off the page. So I'm excited to see and learn more about Luli's adventures, especially because this is the start of a series. And I think the next book comes out relatively soon. Looking forward to that and getting it done on time so we can finish this book out and have a really fun live show. I will be hosting reading sprints, so either reading this book as well as, you know, the other ginormous stack I have behind me. So that could be something you can look forward to if you want some time, just like sit back and read some books. We're gonna be doing that because it's super easy to do that and it does not require me to talk so much, which is good for my throat. But that is everything I am going to be reading for my Magical Readathon TBR. As you can see, I have quite the stack for me for September. We will see if I actually finish this. I'm going to try my best, but some of these books are quite big and it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. I start school at the end of this month too, so we're gonna give it the good old college try, but we'll have to see if I am successful or not. But my throat is kind of killing me. My voice is slightly going. So I'm going to go ahead and head out. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know if you're participating in the Magical Readathon this year. Or what are your plans for September? What are you reading? What are you excited for? Do you have a giant stack of books like I do? Or are you smarter and have a more manageable stack? I want to know. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!